Honestly, I didn't even know I was being suspended until 10 minutes before it was put on social media. We still have yet to hear anything from Kathy. It's no surprise. You could see what's being said on social media. And, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but as usual, she remains silent. And that's unfortunate when, our lives are.
Get this. She only found out her suspension was happening 10 minutes before the rest of the world did. And what did she do with that moment? Instead of owning what she did, she went straight after the commissioner for not protecting her from social media heat. That single reaction tells you exactly where this whole thing is going, because this is not new. This is a pattern. Every single time a player in this league goes too far, the same tired script gets pulled out, and it always starts the same way. Step 1, become the victim.
When they do something deplorable, do something sickening, do something with malice, with cruel intent, they are going to play the victim. Oh, we're a league full of members of the LGBTQ community. We need to play the victim.
To understand this situation, you need to look at what actually happened. During a playoff matchup between the Connecticut Sun and Indiana Fever, Alyssa Thomas drove a closed fist directly into Caitlin Clark's throat. This was not a normal basketball play or an accidental collision while fighting for a rebound. It was a direct blow to the neck of the biggest star in women's basketball, something you would rarely expect to see even in a combat sport, let alone during a game. What happened afterward made everything even more controversial. Rather than showing any regret or accepting responsibility, Thomas and several teammates pushed for the league to take action against fans who criticized the incident online. The contradiction is hard to ignore. They are asking for protection from comments on social media while refusing to address a physical act that could have seriously hurt another player. And they are not simply asking for protection, they are urging the league to silence the people speaking out. That is not about safety. That is about censorship.
Williams saying this about social media.
The internet is not a real place. So I think when you treat the internet like a real place, that's when you get everybody like, oh my God. But it's like, bro, you don't know these people in real life. Just press the block button, bro. Press the block button and then move on. Like,
and I'm going to tell you right now, death threats, blah, blah, blah. Number one, a lot of people...
Courtney Williams brought up death threats and claims that personal addresses are being shared online. And if that is truly happening, it is completely unacceptable. Anyone making real threats should be held legally responsible. No reasonable person supports violence or intimidation. But the problem with this argument is that it takes the actions of a small number of anonymous trolls and uses them to paint millions of Caitlin Clark fans as dangerous people who need to be controlled. It is a familiar way to shift the focus. Instead of addressing the main criticism, the conversation gets steered toward the worst behavior from a tiny group that exists in every single sports fan base. Most people criticizing Alyssa Thomas are not threatening anyone. They are saying her play was reckless, dangerous, and deserved a much harsher punishment than a one-game suspension. That is not harassment. That is holding a professional athlete accountable for what she did on the court.
But I think there's a lot of other plays that you can say the same about. I think the biggest thing is it's just about our safety. We're so concerned about the safety on the court, but time and time again, we're having people threatening our lives, leaking addresses out there, putting crazy pictures that have nothing to do with basketball. So, at some point, the league needs to put a stand on it. They came out with no hate speech, but what is that going to do? At some point, time and time again, players are going through this and the league remains silent. So I'm sick and tired of it, and it's time for them to step up and have our back.
This is where things get even more revealing. Courtney Williams says the league released a statement about online harassment and then questions what that statement actually accomplishes. The WNBA did condemn threats and abusive behavior, which is the right call, but she argues that words alone are not enough and wants the league to take stronger action in support of its players. The real question is what that action would actually look like. The argument being made is that fan criticism should be limited whenever players are caught up in controversial moments. If fans call out a dangerous play, the response becomes that those comments create an unsafe environment and need to be stopped. But that is not protecting players. That is avoiding accountability. The league does not control millions of social media users or the platforms they use. So what exactly is being expected here? Punishing people for saying a foul was reckless or that a one-game suspension was not enough? That is not a practical solution. It points toward a system where any criticism can be dismissed as harassment, leaving players completely shielded from legitimate public scrutiny.
A couple years ago, when we played Indy in the playoffs, same thing, but not to this extent. Our families are being threatened, kids are being threatened, people are sending racial slurs and all types of stuff. And, there's a difference between trolling and there's a difference between hatred. And the hatred that we're experiencing over a play that honestly was a complete accident. No one even knew it happened. It's just unfortunate, but yeah, the league.
This is where the main argument really comes into focus. Listen to how the incident gets described. Courtney Williams calls it a complete accident. According to that version, a closed fist connecting with Caitlin Clark's throat during a stoppage in play was simply unintentional. She even suggests that nobody really knows what happened, as though the facts are somehow still unclear. But the incident was captured from multiple camera angles. The footage shows Alyssa Thomas extending her arm and making contact with Clark's throat using a closed fist. That is not something hidden or difficult to judge. It is on video for everyone to see. The argument here is that by calling it an accident and casting doubt on the facts, responsibility becomes much easier to avoid. If people accept that nothing intentional took place, then accountability disappears along with it. The criticism is that this approach pushes people to question clear video evidence rather than simply addressing what the footage actually shows.
Playing the game, being suspended, just the whole narrative that's being painted out there. It's unfortunate that it's come to this over basketball. A lot of us, myself included.
You're right about that. It is unfortunate it's come to this in basketball. You don't expect something that you don't even see in the UFC on a basketball court. You're right about that, Alyssa Thomas.
They didn't even know the play took place until after, the game. And, now we're being painted as thugs and there's death threats out on us. So, it's really unacceptable. It's something that needs to change in this league. And, I'm just really sick and tired.
This is the part that raises the biggest questions about the league's future. Courtney Williams says the players are being unfairly labeled and that the focus has shifted away from basketball. But how did that happen? Fans did not create this controversy. Caitlin Clark did not create it. The media did not create it either. The controversy started when Alyssa Thomas made the play that sparked the entire reaction. Instead of acknowledging that and admitting she lost her composure, the blame is being placed on everyone who responded afterward. The frustration seems to be that people talked about the incident and that it brought unwanted attention. But the story grew because of the play itself, not because people reacted to it. That is why so many fans find this situation so disappointing. The WNBA has worked hard to earn respect, grow its audience, and build its reputation as a serious professional league. Then something like this happens, and instead of responding with stronger discipline and clear accountability, the punishment is seen by many as far too light, while the players involved present themselves as the ones being wronged. Critics argue that handling situations this way risks pushing away the very fans the league has been working so hard to bring in.
So F you. Alyssa Thomas fans said, I wish she'd have used more pressure, maybe next time. So you got an Alyssa Thomas fan right there saying, I wish Caitlin Clark would have been killed on the court. That's just what she came out.
It gets even more serious when you look beyond the players and into the fan reaction being highlighted. Alyssa Thomas even acknowledged a comment from one of her own supporters that said it does not take much force to seriously injure someone. That fan went even further, expressing a wish that more pressure had been applied next time. That kind of language crosses a clear line and is deeply concerning. It moves well past criticism and into openly wishing harm on another person. The question then becomes why there is not the same level of public response from the players about comments like that. Why is there no equal pressure on the league to address that kind of rhetoric? Instead, the focus stays entirely on criticism directed at the players, while extreme comments from their own supporters go completely unchallenged. This creates the impression that the concern is not consistent. If player safety and online behavior are truly the issue, then both sides need to be addressed with the same seriousness. Without that, it looks far less like a genuine safety concern, and far more like an attempt to control the story and avoid responsibility for what actually happened on the court.
No way. No how. See you in all kinds of court. That's bullshit. And look, are there going to be crazy fans out there? Sure. Fans are short for fanatic. But at the end of the day, don't put a fist in the throat of the most popular women's player in sports, women's athlete in sports. These players know damn well what they did wrong. They don't care. They don't care. They're telling you, I don't care, and I'm going to make myself look like I'm the victim here. I mean, you could have set your watch by the idea that there was going to be a...
This is where the bigger issue becomes clear. She describes the incident as an accident and suggests there is still uncertainty about what really happened. But the play was recorded from multiple angles. Alyssa Thomas extended her arm and made contact with Caitlin Clark's throat with a closed fist during a dead ball moment. That is exactly why so many people reject the idea that it is unclear or open to interpretation. The argument being made is that by calling it an accident or questioning the facts, responsibility gets avoided. If it is labeled unintentional, then punishment becomes unnecessary. And if people are told the situation is unclear, then accountability can be delayed or dismissed entirely. Critics see this as a way of pulling attention away from what was clearly shown on video. This is also why the lack of stronger discipline is being questioned. In other major leagues, similar actions usually lead to longer suspensions and heavier fines. Compared to that, a one-game suspension feels far too light to many observers. The concern is that weak consequences send the message that serious mistakes will not lead to meaningful punishment, which may allow similar behavior to continue. From a business perspective, the league is also under real pressure. Caitlin Clark has brought major attention, viewership, and attendance growth to the WNBA, while the league is still working to expand its audience. That is why some argue that protecting the players driving that growth and enforcing clear standards should be a top priority. Instead, the response is seen by critics as inconsistent, especially when the focus shifts to fan and media reactions rather than the original incident itself. For fans watching, the concern is about consistency and accountability. They see a major moment happen, followed by limited discipline and strong pushback against anyone who speaks out. At the same time, there is frustration that no clear responsibility was publicly accepted by those involved, which has kept the situation in the spotlight far longer than it might have been otherwise. In the end, the question being raised is what standard the league actually wants to set. Should actions on the court lead to firm and consistent consequences, or should reactions and narratives take priority over accountability? Supporters of stronger discipline believe the current approach risks damaging trust and long-term growth. The WNBA is at a point where its popularity is rising, largely driven by increased attention around star players like Caitlin Clark. The concern is that if the league does not handle on court incidents with clear accountability and consistent enforcement, it could risk losing that momentum. That is why many believe the response to situations like this matters not just for one game, but for the entire future direction of the league. Now, the focus turns to leadership and consistency. Fans are watching how incidents are handled, how discipline is applied, and whether responsibility is clearly acknowledged when things go wrong. The ongoing debate reflects a larger question about how the league balances player protection, public criticism, and accountability moving forward.